tremendous looking trophy.
Welcome to Platinum Explosion, #1 PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. My name's Don Blight, and joining me, Ashley Hobley.
Hey John, excited to be here for this pre-PAX PlayStation podcast.
Peter Potter, packed of pepper, pepper, peppers is what all that sounded like.
Party poppers.
Party poopers.
Poppity poppers.
Poppity poppers. This week in the trophy cabinet, we have a bronze trophy for PS Now being more accessible and cheaper, but still not in Australia. A silver trophy for crossplay being a full feature now. A gold trophy for Shawn, Layden's desk. Wherever he's headed, he'll need it. And we hit a platinum with the release of Concrete Genie. So let's jump straight into that straight away because this episode was pushed from releasing at 6 a.m. till 3 p.m. in the afternoon on Tuesday, so we can hit them all in bargaidy dos. So Concrete Genie is a game that is... Well, okay, here's the thing with this game. Before I jump into my thoughts on it. They revealed it years and years ago, right? At least a couple years ago.
2017.
Yeah. And I remember when they revealed it, a lot of people were like, what a weird time to reveal this. What a way to reveal it. What is this game? Is this like a little mini game thing? Like a lot of people I just feel like, I'm not sure what this thing is. And then the only other times, I just feel like Sony's done a bad job at kind of marketing this thing. You know what I mean? Because then the other time they show it is they're at PSX. They do some stage demo of it and random things like that. But it's never been like a main, it's never been up there with their main stuff that's been happening. You know what I'm saying?
But it just looks like a hard one to market. It doesn't like automatically something you can compare to something else and market it the same way. It is a smaller title, so they're not going to throw millions of dollars at it, the marketing and that kind of thing. But I feel like they've shown it consistently. Obviously, they had that big state of play earlier in the year that showed off it for the bulk of their state of play presentations. So I feel like they've been doing a pretty solid job. I mean, those of us in the know about Concrete Genie, but it might just be the wider audience that probably doesn't know about Concrete Genie.
Well, all audiences need to know about this game because one of my favorite games of the year, easily. Now I'm about to break some news on Ash's brain because although Ash plays an editorial role over here and I get to read over my reviews, often I send them to him. I'm like, here, check this over. And I don't have scores attached to them because it's not a meme. I literally leave the scores till the last second a lot of the times, you know? And here's the thing of this one. Here's my path. I beat the game in one day. Guess.
I'm pretty sure you gave it a 10.
I'm giving this game...
based on your opinion.
I'm giving the game a 10. And I like how that you were... After reading my words, you can be like, it sounds like a 10. You know what I mean? So then it means the score matches the words.
Makes sense.
You know, so it makes sense. But yeah, so the thing with this game, I've had a thing of this. I beat it in less than 24 hours. I beat it the day I got the code. Absolutely loved it. Stayed up to 3 a.m. to get the platinum. As of recording, I don't know where I'm going to fall in the charts, but I really hope I'm the first person in the world to get the platinum. So I beat it. So smashed it all out. I was like, I love this game. This game's absolutely fantastic. But at the time, I felt like I was riding on a high because I really enjoyed it so much. I was like, okay, I need to at least sit on it for a day or two here so I can kind of calm down. You know, when you watch a movie that you love or something like that, you're like, Sometimes I can walk out of a movie theater and feel like I could just review the movie straight away. Other times I'm like, I'm really excited at this thing, blah, blah, or I'm like really angry at this thing. I just need to sit on it for like 24 hours or something. So at the time, that's how I was feeling. And then I kind of kept thinking, like, I kind of just want to give it a 10. I just want to give it a 10. Oh, I'll wait until I write my words and then see if my words match my thoughts in my brain, it's a 10. Write my words. I read back my own review. Sounds like a 10 to me. My words sound like a 10. Like, so, yeah, we're going with a 10. I think this game is an absolute must play. So to get into what the game is and what you do, the game's story, basically it centers on this kid, Ash, who the game starts with him hanging over at this town Denska, which is this fishing village that was abandoned several years ago when he was much younger. He used to live there with his family and so on. And he kind of sits there and he kind of reminisces about the good old days when everyone was there and everyone was happy and all this sort of stuff. Now the only people roaming around the village are a bunch of bullies and stuff who bump into him at the very start of the game, and because Ash is an artist, they rip out all of his drawings and the drawings pages kind of go disappearing into the wind all around the place. And then because they're mean old bullies, they kind of chuck him into this lift thing or whatever, it's cart thing, and then they shoot him off to the lighthouse. And then long story short, after some sort of tutorial-esque wandering, like press X to jump, press, like all this sort of stuff. Yeah. It's not a hardcore platformer, but you do end up like climbing atop rooftops and these sorts of things and jumping around a little bit, but it's not like an actual platformer. You do that. Eventually you end up below this lighthouse and you find a magical paintbrush, which is about, I don't know, I'd say it's about at least a meter or maybe a little bit longer long. So it's quite large.
It's big.
And it's a big old paintbrush. And then Ash works out that using this, he can paint things into life. And you meet a friendly genie critter down there who basically through more tutorials kind of teaches you how the paintbrush works and gives you a couple pages to get going. And how the game works in the gist is that you have the paintbrush, you have Ash's art book, and then throughout the game you'll get more pages back from the book, and then they'll open up options for what you can draw. So at the start of the game you get like a stars, a moon, a grass, some flowers, and then at any stage you can basically press R2, whip out the paintbrush, and then using the diagonal buttons kind of switch between what you want to pick. So you're not freehand drawing everything, but at the same time you're not just like hovering over selection and then holding down like X to watch the character animate it. You move the analog stick over to a wall, you hold down R2, and in whatever way that you move the analogs, the DualShock, because it's actually motion controlled, and whatever way you do that is the way it's going to paint. So you'll paint grass into big hills, you can paint a flower that's straight up and down, you can paint a flower that zigzags up, down, left, right, and center. The more you play the game, I think the more experimentation and whatever, and the more things you'll have fun with it. And that's the only asterisk on this game is, if you're someone who and I don't think this is a negative thing, I think this is just depends on the player type thing. If you're one of those people who like the idea of having control over painting, or like you absolutely hate any sort of like designing
templates,
characters, even anything like that, you just want a game to give you stock character, stock this, just get me into it, let me fucking do what I need to do, shoot stuff, do whatever, then this probably isn't going to be much fun for you, because a lot of the joy and fun comes from, obviously, from being able to paint these things and creating things. And it's not like Little Big Planet or Dreams creating, where it's like, oh, the system's so obtuse that I can't understand what I'm doing. No, the system has enough flexibility and yet is easy enough to do that you can like find a blank wall, and there is an eraser tool. So you can literally, if you just paint a bunch of crap there, you can wipe off an entire wall, and then you can literally just draw whatever you want. And I think there's enough options here that people will be able to do some really great things. I saw Pixel Opus on Twitter yesterday that posted up like the game's coming out in 2 days, 3 days, whatever, 3 days yesterday, and they'd painted it in like on one of the walls in the game using different sorts of options and stuff, and it was this really nice like mural on the wall and stuff. So that's cool. Now, the thing of all that, and I think this is the thing that people understood about this game from the outset, is because they kept selling it like, you're going to paint. It's not a street art game, as much as I think the first trailer kind of made it seem like you're playing as like a street kid and you're painting on walls. No, it's not like a Jet Set Radio type thing. It's a kid going around in a abandoned town, painting the town back to life kind of thing. The thing where it's like, oh, what's any of that have to do with the game? Your main objective is, and Ash discovers it at the lighthouse in the tutorial stage, that the town of Denska, which is now abandoned, and it was abandoned because it got covered up in all this black sludge and goo and all this sort of stuff, that basically because it's a fishing village and it ruined the waters and made people want to leave, and people grew angrier, and eventually the town kind of just fell to crap and left. Ash discovers that if he paints all of the light sources in an area, like he does in the lighthouse, and he eventually lights up the lighthouse, it will destroy all the black, nasty goo stuff. So he's like, okay, here's my mission. I'm going to go back to Denska. I'm going to paint all the lights up, and that's your objective of the game. So you do have like a little mini map. You open it up, it'll be like, oh, there's lights over here, lights over here. So you basically just need to go around to all those areas, and you just need to paint anything near the lights, and that will make all the lights light up. Once you light up all the lights in the area, then it'll clear some black sludge and stuff, and you can move on to the next area and so on and so forth. At the same time, you're trying to ignore the bullies. You're finding pages floating around in the wind or like hidden in garbage bags or random stuff like that. I wouldn't say they're collectibles because like a lot of you need at least they're not hard to find. Most of them are just kind of out in the open. It's like you pick them up. And that's like that's pretty much I would say, the majority of the game is that, which the first like 4 or 5 hours, 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours probably. It's hard for me to tell because I was spending a lot of time like, this is pretty. I'm gonna paint things. This is fun. Like, and then I'm like, how much time am I wasting here? I don't know how much messing around I'm doing compared to like maybe someone who's like, I just want to run through and get the story and so on and so forth. But the game it's very easy to get distracted because I absolutely love the art style in the game. In the review, I described it as how do you say that studio's name? It's Latka, is it? Latika, yeah. Latka. Yeah, Laika.
There's a T in it, or
yeah? I was like, I know, that's like I think it's like I don't know. It's one of those things. I'm like, I read it, never have to say it out loud. But anyway, that studio who does Kubo and the Two Strings most prominently. I guess that's the movie I guess most people would know. Lately, yeah, because that was a big award winner and stuff. But basically, think of that studio, think of their art style, and that's the easiest comparison that I can make to this game, and I absolutely love it. It's a very beautiful game. You get these neon colors on walls once you paint them in. The characters all basically look like they're from Kubo and the Two Strings. Not exactly the same, but like similar sort of thing. Then they also do this really unique thing with the characters in the game, so both Ash and all of the bullies, where it's like they look like that, but then they've hand drawn and animated all of their faces. So that basically means that whenever it cuts to close-ups of their faces, it's doing that whole thing where it's like the mouth as moving, like kind of switches between, and you can very easily tell it's like pencil drawing type stuff where it's like a circle when their mouth is closed, and you'll see it like switch to a line and back forth kind of thing as they're talking, and this sort of thing, even for their eyes, which I think is very unique, and I haven't seen anything like that in the game at all. And it's like matching that with this other animation that they've got for the actual characters and crazy world you got going and all these sorts of things. Great. And then the third aspect, I guess, for the game is the genies themselves. So at several sections around the village, there's these things on the ground that let you know that you can basically draw a genie there, and you can unlock different genie types. There's no difference, they just look different a little bit by finding pages, of course, like everything else in the game. But you draw a genie into the world, and they've got kind of different shapes and sizes at first, and they will look different depending on how you even shape them originally. So it's like if you start with paintbrush like on the left side of the wall and then draw it like left to right, the head always starts where you start first, so then all of a sudden their body's going to be that way. You could draw them in a weird way where their head's kind of on the bottom somehow, like all sorts of weird nonsense type things like that.
Yeah.
And then once you draw them in that way, you then get to uniquely make them yours, which is really cool, because this is why I think although the game is sort of short and linear in a lot of ways, it's the creative differences that a lot of people are going to have that I think is going to make it stand out between different people doing streams and let's plays and whatever they have to do. Because when you get to doing your genies, you can then, once again, using different pages you find, you can draw in different features to all your genies. So antlers, slimy tails. You can literally put like a basket, or like a basket with an egg on their head for some reason. A rose. One genie I put like a little tiny rose in. I'm like, oh, that looks all right. But then I delete it. I'm like, how big could the rose go? Next second, I made the biggest rose, and then I brought it to life after I finished drawing it, and it was kind of like the genie's head was just popping out through the rose. I'm like, well, this is a bit awkward, but I hope you don't have any allergies. But you'll be right. I'm sure.
It's allergic to flowers. Yeah.
Maybe it's allergic to flowers. I don't know. But yeah, you can draw a whole bunch of different unique features. Some of my genies I'd only put like one or two things on. Some of the ones just to see how crazy you could go, I pretty much just drew 1,000,001 different things on them, and then they came to life, and I'm like, wow, you kind of look like some crazy kid trying to draw for the first time, which is me. And they're great. They come to life, and they basically fill the village. The more you bring to life, the more you'll see around. They kind of hang around in the background like these sorts of either small children just like playing, or I guess like a puppy kind of in the background, whatever comparison you want to make. They are used for two means other than being cute and hanging around. I've seen on Twitter, by the way, quick note, I saw on Twitter someone had like a plushie, and I guess it was from maybe PSX or something like that from at one point, a plushie of these damn genies. I want one. I really want one. I want one now. But the genies come to life, and their main purpose is to fill you with super paint, which they'll give you if you make them happy. And to make them happy, it's very easy. They'll come up like a bubble above their head that's like, draw me this, like a flower. So you draw them a flower, they're like, yay, that's great. And then they'll give you super paint. And then super paint is used to clear areas of black goo that's on different walls. And then by clearing that, it allows them to travel further around the village. And then you can have all your genies helping you out in different places because you need them at certain areas. I'm going to put quotation marks around when I say they use you to help puzzles, because the puzzles are very simple. There's different colors of genies. The blue ones can help blow things out of the way, blue objects. The red ones can help burn things. So this is at times if there's like a giant like thing draped across the wall, they can kind of burn it. So it'll get out of the way, and then the genies can get across the wall to a different area of the city. And then the yellow ones you call them over to an electrical box that's on the wall, and they'll activate the electrical box, which at times throughout the game obviously opens gates and so on, so you can get to different areas of the city. The city isn't big, it's not massive. The game probably takes you about, I'd say 6-ish hours, 6 to 8 hours, depending on how much messing around you're doing along the way. But the reason I love it so much, I guess to boil it down, without going too much into spoilers, is that the story I thought was really great. It's really wholesome. It just fills you with the happy beans, you know? And of course, go read my review. It'll be up by now, explosionnetwork.com. Fills you with the happy beans. The characters are all great. I love what they did with the bullies. I love the story that they try and tell with the bullies about how they... it's not the typical thing of like, they're just bad because they're bad, but then it's also not like... Kind of without spoilers, but I like how they delve into the bullies and these sorts of things. I like the overall message of the game doesn't feel like super hammy or forced. It generally comes across like the team is trying to say something, and what they're trying to say they believe in, and it came across in the way all the characters are talking, these sorts of things. I quite enjoyed that. But then also just the game is so unique. It's like you're just going around drawing and bring things to life. And you can go into photo mode and spend lots of time doing whip pans around and be like, oh, everything's pretty. That's what I did anyway. I'll make one quick note before we move on from this, basically, is that the last thing, and I didn't talk about this much in my written review either, which is that the game does have combat towards the end of it, and they have shown off this in gameplay and preview coverage prior to release. That's why I'm like, it's not really a big spoiler. I won't say when the combat happens or why it happens, but you basically end up being able to use Ash's paintbrushes to fire off kind of spells, I guess, like it's a wand against some bad genies that end up showing up in the city, the village. And this only happens in the last third of the game, the last part of it. And that's kind of when the game goes a lot more linear and kind of just forces you along the last path as things are happening. And it's fine. It's fun. And I think that the most positive thing I can say about it is like throwing in combat to a game that has zero combat at the last second. I think in most games, or just in general premise, if you said that to me, I'd be like, that sounds like a terrible idea. Why would you do that? That seems odd. But it actually feels supernatural by the time it happens and just makes sense within the story and everything that's been happening, that you're like, okay. And I had absolutely no problems with it. And I think that's just a testament to how good the story and gameplay and everything works really well together. But yeah, Concrete Genie, I think everyone should play it. 10 out of 10. ExplosionNetwork.com. Got any questions?
Cool. Yes. Did you delve into the VR content?
Yes. I'll save it for the VR segment. Just to separate, because it's like, it's not part of, not everyone has VR, so I'm like, that's Concrete Genie. I'll talk about the VR stuff. Hang around to show you later. All right, Concrete Genie. It's great. 10 out of 10. Read my review. ExplosionNetwork.com. Play the game. It's $39.95 Australian. So it's that's the other thing. It's not a full priced game. It is a budgetish title, or whatever you want to call it. So No reason not to play it, everyone. Do what you need to do. All right, Ash.
Yeah.
I've seen you've been playing MLB The Show 2019. It's on PS Plus.
Yeah.
You've been pulling some trophies. I see in my activity feed.
Yeah, I've just been playing through the Road to the Show mode where you just play as one guy in a team trying to work your way up the ranks. It's fun. It's just a base, like, kind of zen, I guess. Just sort of been hitting baseballs.
It's like painting walls.
Throwing baseballs. Yeah, it's kind of just very zen, and like, at least for me, it's like a basic motion, just very relaxing. Like, I assume that's what like going to a batting cage and hitting a bunch of baseballs is like. So I'm enjoying it. I haven't like gone too much into like the other modes and stuff. It's just playing game after game. The really impressive thing is it loads. Obviously, they simulate certain things between each time you get up to the plate or so you have an action, and it loads super fast. Like other games, when they simulate something in between actions, it will take like a few seconds. This is like almost instantaneous. So I don't know what they're doing on the back end.
Probably because it's a first party
to make it. That could be that, but still, just to simulate all the different results and different things that could happen in the background or during each innings is pretty impressive.
I wouldn't be surprised if that is because it's a PS4 only thing, you know, because it's like if you only have to develop for one thing, often it's like if they were trying to make The Last of Us for all consoles, all of a sudden they get hit with like, we have to make this work on all things and what, you know, all that sort of stuff. So I'm like, maybe it could be that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm enjoying it. It's not like a credit. It obviously I don't have a great attachment to baseball, so there's a bit of novelty to it, I think.
Yeah.
Because I haven't played like a million iterations of it. I think I had like a baseball game that I might have downloaded at some point at some stage on a PC. But other than that, you know, it's just fun hitting baseballs and constantly hitting fly balls and getting out. But, you know.
Hitting the old lever.
But then you hit a home run and you're like, yeah, this is easy.
For some reason, years ago, I never thought the MLB games even came out in Australia. I always thought they were just like, they didn't even release them here because like...
It was probably like a digital only thing because why would you put out a physical?
I've never seen them physically in store. Yeah, so that's when I remember people listening to like Podcasts Beyond in the PS3 days, and I used to talk about MLB and stuff all the time. I'd be like, where is this game? This game doesn't exist, you know, like MLB the what? Okay, so I played a little bit the other day. I jumped on Mr. Buddy Watson from over at Dash Culture, had pretty much been sending me messages. Look, he was just nagging me. Just going to go out and say, yeah, come play Last of Us with me. Come play Last of Us. I'm like, look, mate, fucking calm down over here. Jesus.
Sounds like he needed his fix.
I think that's what it is. He's like, come fill me up with my drugs, my Last of Us drugs. Like, I'm in hype. I'm like, okay, you know.
I got that itch after watching that gameplay. I just need a bit.
Yeah, just need a
little bit.
Little bit.
Just 20 minutes. It'll be fine.
So I jumped on the other night to play The Last of Us Remastered multiplayer with Buddy, Dash, and Ryan from Pop Culturists as well. And I had not played The Last of Us multiplayer since the original beta, I think. I was trying to think of it. He did ask me, it's like, when's the last time you played this? I'm like, the beta? Before the PS3 the game even released, I think, because I did not touch it from proper release because I wasn't a big fan of whatever I played and checked out, and then I never jumped in and played it upon the remastered release either. And I was having fun. I was having a good time. I think the number one thing that scared me from this multiplayer, which of course the multiplayer is kind of in hype. You know, we talked about the no multiplayer in Last of Us 2. Everyone's like jumping in to play it again. I guess this sort of thing. Last of Us hype mode's on. The thing that confused me the most about the multiplayer mode is I thought I had to care more about this whole like thing where it's kind of like a mini game where you're kind of looking after your own, like, I don't know what the word would be for it, group of people, survivors. You're looking after like your own group of survivors. And like when you boot into the multiplayer mode, it has it off the right hand side screen. It's like sick people, like healthy people, all this stuff. I'm like, what the fuck does any of this mean? And then I find out it's kind of like you don't really need to worry about it. It's just like as long as you're playing well, then you'll get like good resources, basically. Then every couple days, like because each match like kind of puts you through like a day, and then you go through weeks. And I think the overall thing you're supposed to be doing with the multiplayer mode is make it through several weeks alive, I guess. Yeah, and then every couple days you get like a challenge thing that's like, oh, down this many people with this many guns in 3 matches or whatever. And then if you pass them, you just get like good supplies and whatever. And ultimately you're supposed to get all your enough survivors through several weeks or something, I think is the overall goal of the multiplayer. But I guess that's like a sub game, you know, like I guess you could just play it just to matches and not worry about that too much if you don't really care. But I think the first time I ever got into it, I was like, what? This is so confusing. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. The general multiplayer stuff, I really was enjoying it though, because like to separate to your Call of Duties or your Battlefields or, you know, Apex Legends or all this sort of, you know, fast-paced 16 on 16 or whatever, 32, these big things. It's 4v4 smallish maps, but then it also does like carries on the Last of Us thing where it's like people are sneaking around and like you can have different skills. So it's like if you're creeping around, like they won't be able to see you when they use like the hearing vision in The Last of Us, which you can use to try and find enemies. And you get crafting materials, then you can craft like all the stuff like you can in a single player. You get limited amount of bullets, so it's like if you fire off your gun, you get like 10 bullets at the start, and then you need to find supplies to make more bullets in it. And it just feels very different to other stuff. And I was getting into it. I was having fun to the point that, you know, everyone's like, "Oh, we're gonna get off. We're gonna go," and I'm like, "No." Buddy's like, "Is everyone leaving me?" I'm like, "No, I'm playing more, buddy. Let's go. Let's go." What's the time? What's the time? Daylight savings is about to take place. It's about to. I'm about to lose literally a whole hour. It's fine. Let's keep going. Oh, it's 3 o'clock all of a sudden. Fuck, I should go to bed. Right. Okay, we should go to bed. But no, I was having fun with The Last of Us.
Fucking daylight savings.
Fucking daylight savings. But yeah, I was having fun with that. I would happily go back and play some more. So. And now I kind of get, you know, it's a very unique multiplayer. I can understand why people are like, hopefully it's its own thing.
Yeah. So do you see it as its own whole game?
Yeah, I think kind of looking at that sub game, you know, the keeping the people alive and the weeks and the days and all this sort of stuff, like the sub game inside the multiplayer game and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, you could surely spring that out into a full blown like thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have that be a lot more complicated and interesting, I guess. And what you do, I don't know. But I definitely feel like that's the direction they could head, which I presume is where they're going to go.
We all know what they're working on.
Yeah. You know,
Last of Us Factions. Battle Royale. Think about it. The circle closing in, is it just clickers?
Yeah, what are you dropping out of?
You just spawn.
Okay. you're like, I can't come up with something for that, Dylan. No, you just spawn.
No.
And the last thing to talk about that I've played is I also have up on the website now. It'll be everything I say that I talk about obviously is linked in the show notes as well. But I put up a Close to the Sun preview. The game came out early in the year on PC. It's coming out on consoles, including Switch, miraculously. It's coming out on consoles on October 29th or 30th. Depends how you go, your American date thing or whatever. One of those days, though. It's a story-driven, alternate history, semi-horror game, I guess is kind of the words I'd use to describe it. Basically, the story is that, and I only played the first 3 chapters for preview. That's where the full stop was, obviously, for the code I was given. But your sister goes to work on this giant ship that is run by Nikola Tesla. All right, Nikola Tesla in this alternate history is like, I'm pretty fucking smart. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get all the smart people on one ship, all the scientists, best scientists of the world. We can all work together and create big things. I can say one of the rooms I scoured around on the ship once I actually got there, I did find the room that Einstein was staying in, and I found a note where it's like, actually, I'm going to leave now. I was like, okay, so there's he got the fuck out of there. And then you get a letter from your sister who goes to work on this Nikola Tesla thing, and she's like, hey, can you come help me? Something's gone wrong here. So then you head on over there, You get on this ship. It's called the Helios. Massive thing. And of course, typically, what happens? You arrive and shit is not as it would seem. Where is everyone? They're all missing. You're wandering around for like the first prologue and the first chapter, what have you. You're like, there's no one on the ship. This is a bit weird. And then next second, find a whole bunch of dead bodies. What the fuck's going on here? You manage to get in contact with your sister via a communication device. And she's like, look, people are dying. And probably should get the fuck off the ship. So now in the like 3 chapters I played, basically it's like trying to get my sister, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on here. Nikola Tesla's appearing over the PA systems, basically taunting and trying to lock me up for my own safety. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a thing. But the gameplay is basically... That's what I'm saying. It's like a narrative-driven adventure game. There's the first couple of chapters are basically walk from point A to point B. You can get from very fast if you're not doing literally any sort of looking around, which I was, because I do enjoy this setting. I enjoy this alternate setting of like Nikola Tesla's like some kind of batshit crazy person. The ship's got lots of stuff to look around. There are lots of fucking files to find and of course pick up and read and these sorts of things. You can find whiteboards where it's like he's written down like, these are Thomas Edison spies, they're all coming together. So like sets up this history thing. It was like, well, that's based on real history. Those two were like, hated one another, trying to be the smartest man in the world type thing. And then the last chapter I ended up playing, chapter 3. Well, it basically ended with I found someone on the ship finally, bumped into someone who was going around killing the people that are alive. Don't know why they're doing that. But then I had to run away from them, and that was my only negative thing so far with it, is that once the game went from me just kind of wandering around, doing some slight, not too hard puzzly stuff and just exploring files, the second it was like, run away! I was like, this doesn't feel very like a game that was designed for fast-paced running away and so on and so forth. But I'm keen to play more. You can read more about that in my preview. Good job, everyone. Let's jump into the news, the PlayStation news segment. And it's really a big week, Don't know if you know this, Ash, but last week, the show comes out at 6 a.m. Tuesday. I think around...
Yeah.
Don't know, 9 a.m. Shawn Layden's like, Plat's out. Might fuck off from PlayStation. Might announce I'm leaving. Yeah. Now that I've seen the
One last.
Now that I've seen Platinum Explosions dropped, I might as well announce that I'm leaving. So article comes from GameIndustry.biz. Sony Interactive Entertainment's Shawn Layden is leaving the company after decades in various roles and 3 years as chairman of Worldwide Studios. A tweet said, quote, "It is with great emotion that we announce that Worldwide Studios chairman Shawn Layden will be departing SIE. His visionary leadership will be greatly missed. We wish him success in future endeavors and deeply grateful for his years of service. Thanks for everything, Shawn." That came from the official PlayStation account. And then they also say here, in case you don't know anything about Shawn other than his brief E3 appearances and so on, Layden has worked in various departments at Sony since the 1980s, entering executive roles as VP of Sony Computer Entertainment Europe in 1999 and taking over as president of Sony Computer Entertainment Japan in 2007. He worked his way up through roles of COO, president and CEO of PlayStation from 2010 through to 2016 when he finally took on the most recent role as chairman of SIE Worldwide Studios. As chairman, Layden oversaw the later 3 years of the PlayStation 4's life cycle as the console continued its dominance of the hardware generation, surpassing 100 million units earlier this year. Before I talk too much about it, I'm going to add in this other story because I think it's worthwhile circling it in before the discussions. So also from GameIndustry.biz, CFO Kazuko Takeda to take on Sony Interactive Entertainment Japan Asia President Morita has officially retired from the company as of yesterday. His successor has not yet been announced. However, his additional role as corporate director has already been filed by Sony Interactive Entertainment Deputy President and CFO Kazuko Takeda. According to the announcement, in his time at Sony, Morita has worked as VP of Administration and Control as well as other roles before taking the position of President and CEO of Sony Computer Entertainment Japan before the reconfiguration to Sony Interactive Entertainment 2014. His activities have included leading mobile-focused Sony subsidiary Ford Works. So two prominent in different areas, obviously, different parts of the world or whatever, and most prominently, Shawn Layden, of course, is the big name. But these things happen pretty much 24 hours apart from one another. The whole internet's blowing up. So what do you reckon, Ash? You're on the side over here. You're like, Shawn Layden's leaving because PlayStations make terrible decisions. You got your tinfoil hat on. What do you got over here?
I mean, I think there's reason to be a little bit concerned that they seem to be bleeding people these last couple of years. Whether it's just that they'd want to go out on a high, that they've been so successful for so long. You've Shawn Layden, you've had Andrew House leave in the past few years. You had the whole thing with the CEO of Sony Interactive switching to another position and Jim Ryan coming in. And then you had, I feel like another big name person who used to be in the press conferences also moved on.
Well, I can tell you also John Drake left.
Or at least in the period that we've been doing it.
In the last month or so, John left, who was doing like a lot of the third-party relations stuff, and he now works at Disney.
Yeah.
That's another person.
Yes, so... Yeah, whether it's just they want to move on, try new things right before the next gen, they don't want to be burdened with having to see through the next generation of stuff, or whether they've already got people who've sort of been leading that and they feel like they need to get out of the way of that. I'm not sure, but it seems interesting that the timing is so right before the next generation. It is a little bit of a concern.
I think I'm not concerned until I see actual proof or things to be afraid of. Because here's the thing: the frameworks, because people are getting scared. Here's the thing that the internet's doing. All these people are leaving. Oh no, the PlayStation 5 is doomed. It's going to be terrible now. The PlayStation 5 is releasing next year. It's releasing in 12, maybe 13, maybe 11, like months. We don't know really. Either way, it's releasing in about a year from now. The frameworks for that thing is set and solid at this point. Like they're not starting from scratch all of a sudden next year with new people coming in and being like, yeah, let's delete that, delete that, delete that, delete that. These things they don't just change overnight for big decisions to do with the launch of something like the PS5, And lots of people working on that. Lots of people continue to work on that. But that's the thing that most people seem to be afraid of. Now, if any of the people coming into PlayStation, the new people taking these positions, if they are going to make really bad decisions, you won't actually see those decisions happen until a couple years into the PS5's life cycle. Like they'll come in, they'll start making decisions. You won't see the fruits of their labor until some point after that. You know what I'm saying? It's not like these people just come in overnight. Oh, we're changing everything. Also, I personally just think that all of these people leaving is because they wanted to stay on. And you could be like, oh, that's a weird coincidence, but it's not. They wanted to stay on, see through the PS4. They're like, PS4 was a great success. I'm actually going to move on now because a lot of the reasons that people move on from their jobs in any other place is just they want something different, they want something new. And they're like, well, really, when is the best time when you work at a company like that to move on? It's like, I'll leave at the end of this generation, which means that new people will be able to come in and that's their generation. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I really don't think it's some weird Sony shake-up conspiracy theory coming in. I think a lot of people are just doing very similar things, which is generations coming to an end. It's time for us to, I want to move on. I want to do something different, and that's what I'm going to do. So, what could be wrong, but I don't think we'll find out if I'm wrong until a couple years from now, for sure. And people are getting so scared with people like Jim Ryan coming into whatever positions because of one thing he said wrong about the whole backwards compatibility. Could have changed his mind. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the end of, like, people say things, they changed their mind. It's not like he actually said like something terrible that was like racist or something. He said he didn't think backwards compatibility was a good idea. That was years ago. Maybe now he's changed his mind. I don't know. But it's like, it's not worth getting like super, oh my God, he said backwards compatibility is not good. There's not going to be a Blu-ray drive in this thing now. You know, like from one extent to another of just getting like scared over nothing. Because people get attached to certain people in companies or whatever, I guess. Although gaming is really the only industry where people will get on fucking podcasts and discuss shit like this. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, well, the CEO left. Oh no, what are we gonna do? What's Apple got? Oh, I suppose Apple would be quite similar. These really like high fan base consumer products.
Well, if you're to believe sort of in a crossover thing, the Bob Iger thing, his book recently came out. Apparently, he stayed on at Disney to oversee the Fox takeover.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of similar to that, I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of a big personality staying on. But yeah, the person I was thinking of was Adam Boyce. He left the company.
Oh, yeah, he left a couple of years ago, and he did it to go. Yeah, I still, he's over here doing it the other company or whatever it is. I can't remember now. But it's not like he left and he was like, "Oh my God, PlayStation's terrible."
No, it's just if you bleed this much talent at the same time, it just looks a bit odd.
I guess, but it's not really.
It's like if 4 or 5 big directors left a studio at the same time.
I guess, but see, the weirdly, the closest comparison I could think of was when I was in high school. At the end of my grade 10, which is because we don't do 12 as part of 11, 12 as part of separate. Anyway, at the end of grade 10, when I was finishing high school, 3 of the teachers from that year all left the next year, and at our end of year thing dinner, whatever you call it. You'd call it dinner. I was talking to one of them and they were like, literally the only reason they stayed on was because they'd been with my class since grade 7. And 3 of these teachers were like, just wanted to see our group through. And then they were leaving next year. You know what I mean? I think it's a somewhat similar type thing is all I'm saying. Like a lot of these people could have been like, I just want to see the PlayStation 4 up to the end, which they have. Like it's pretty much at this stage, it's kind of just like pushing the boat out to sea, and it's fine. You know, it's kind of on autopilot for the last year. No one next year, apart from people doing like slight firmware updates and these sorts of things. Basically, everyone from now on is in PS5 mode at Sony. You know what I'm saying? Sure, they have a couple of releases. They got The Last of Us coming up.
Well, that's the thing. Shawn Layden's in charge of Worldwide Studios.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he want to see through to the end of Last of Us?
Maybe it just makes sense. Like it's approaching the end of the year. Maybe it's just
a timing.
Maybe timing wise, it's just easier. You know, he can move on, get another job. But Reggie leaves Nintendo. No one's like, oh God, Nintendo's fucked. What's Nintendo done? They're just like, I felt so weird.
I mean, yeah.
He's going to become a fucking teacher.
Their huge release got sold out, got beaten in the game charts by a goose game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is I don't think anyone needs to be getting super worried until there's actually something to get super worried about. A lot of people are just reading really, really hard into nothing at the moment. You give me some more solid proof that there's something going wrong at Sony, I will happily get on here and be like, I'm worried about the PS5 guys, you know, like we should be like, what's going to happen? But at the moment, I'm like, whatever. Shawn Layden comes, someone else will go. I was like, we'll find out, you know, what they like, how they work, what's going to happen.
Yeah.
People are like,
do you think we'll get presentation now that Shawn Layden's gone?
Well, yeah, no, that was see, I do think that's an interesting thing to take into account these days when like hiring someone for these sorts of positions. Like, because obviously back in the day, you wouldn't think like, do you have video presence? Wouldn't be part of it. That's like, maybe now that is kind of something that's needed for these higher up roles because it's just the world we live in today. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these people get put.
You can just hire somebody.
Yeah, I know, but you know, a lot of the time these days, you
can like hire a host for that kind of thing.
It's like Phil Spencer's.
Get Jeff.
Phil
Keighley.
Spencer's really good at being on camera and talking to people, and Phil Spencer always comes across as just a dude. You know what I'm saying? Like he just comes across with someone you could probably just talk to, and he seems chill, and he's very good on camera. He's very good at
Yep.
over there at Xbox doing what he does. So, and he really doesn't come across like the person he actually is, which is in a suit. Yeah, he never comes across like that. So I do wonder how much Shawn Layden was fine. I always liked to come out in the t-shirts. Obviously, that was his thing. Like, what's he got on? What's the t-shirt revealing? He was fine, but he wasn't like
the Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah,
saga.
all that stuff. He never quite had the. I wouldn't say he was never where as good as like Phil Spencer is. Phil Spencer is a lot more natural sounding, I feel. Shawn, especially for the first couple of years, you could tell he was kind of struggling. So yeah, it's like I do wonder if that's something to have to take into account these days. I don't think it should be, but I do wonder. You know what I mean? Just like if it helps get you extra points if you're able to do on video stuff. But I did find it weird when this stuff was announced. I looked in Twitter threads and Facebook comment sections, and that's the number one thing people are focusing on. Like, oh, I wonder like whoever. I'm like, that's like the bottom of the fucking worries of what they're going to be doing in this role, you know? Stop worrying about what they're going to be like at fucking E3 if E3 is even going to be happening. You know, it's like let's fucking calm down.
Or if PlayStation's ever at E3 again.
Yeah. But that's another thing. Like, E3 happens next year, and I'm still presuming it does, amongst all of the nonsense that's going on. I'm still presuming it does. E3 happens next year. Let's say PlayStation's there. Well, hold on. Bring it back. PlayStation does their PS5 reveal event in early next year, whatever it is. So this is the other thing. You're now going to have someone new associated to for the next generation straight away. You know what I'm saying? Shawn Layden isn't going to come out and be there and talk about that, or whoever else. You're going to have whoever's going to come out and talk to you about the PS5 in that first presentation. Your brain is then going to associate that to that's this generation's group of people. You know, so whoever comes out, fucking mental blank on his name. That guy comes out. I fucking can't remember his name. But, Shuhei comes out. Whoever, you know what I mean? Like you're gonna be like, okay, this is our group. You know, are you googling Knack? Because I'm like he.
Oh yeah, it's
what's his name?
I had him up before.
I'm fucking mental blanking on his name.
Mark Cerny.
Because Mark Cerny's 100% going to be coming out because he's the architect or whatever officially, they call it. So he's going to be there, and whoever's going to be there, and whatever else. But then also first E3, right? So we come around to E3 in June. Following that, and let's, for the sake of my argument, we're going to say that Sony's going to be there at E3. We're also going to say that whoever comes out for their first E3 talking about their next generation is going to be a new person, and they're going to be now associated with this next upcoming generation. Because if Shawn Layden was still there, it would be like he's there, he's talking about it, but then he like fucks off. You know what I mean? If he stayed to see the next year and kind of thing. So I think it's good timing. Whatever. We'll see. I should probably move on before this turns into a fucking Shawn Layden podcast.
I do enjoy all the people on Twitter putting their hand up for the job, though.
Yeah, I saw that. Started by one Greg Miller.
And then there was who was I can't remember her name. I've been trying to look it up. The girl who left the Bethesda company.
Oh, I can't remember her name. Yeah. She put her name up as well.
Yeah, she put up her name, and she said the first thing she'll do is if you buy a new controller, you get 3 months of PS Plus. Smart. That's a good platform to build your campaign on.
I saw lots of great ideas. I'm going to be honest. None of them are getting the job. Talking about some PlayStation changes though. IGN writes, PlayStation Now gets big price cut, adds God of War, GTA 5 more to line up. Today, Sony revealed that its PlayStation Now subscription service got a big price cut, including more games coming like God of War, Grand Theft Auto 5 Now. Starting today, PS Now's US price will be $9.99 a month, $24.99 for 3 months, or $59.99 per year. That's down from $20 a month, $50 for 3 months, or $100 a year. So it's basically me cut in half. On top of that, the most recent God of War, Grand Theft Auto 5, Infamous Second Son, and Uncharted 4, A Thief's End are now available through the service until January 2nd, 2020. Because you can play PlayStation Now games streaming on your PC, that means all 3 PlayStation exclusives in that list no longer require PS4 at all to play. I'll put an asterisk on that because you do need a PlayStation controller though. So it's not like you can suddenly play God of War with a mouse and keyboard or something like that.
But that's a smaller investment.
It's a very small investment, but it's still like, I'm like, that probably should be mentioned there. Just to reiterate, anyone with a PC that uses Windows 7 or later has 2 GB of more RAM and at least a Core i3 2.7 GHz CPU, You don't even need a graphics card. Will now have access to God of War with just a PS Now subscription until early next year. Oh no, they did say it here. However, you still need a PlayStation DualShock 4 controller plugged in with a USB cable in order to control the game, and Sony recommends a minimum of 5 megabytes per second internet connection to support the stream. And of course, you can get PS Now on your consoles and these sorts of things. Really big news, I think. Not super relevant to us here in Australia yet, because obviously we don't have it, but I still think that's simply a matter of time, and I think the time is going to be
soon.
I would say
sooner rather than later.
I think it'll come before the PS5 release, because then they can get it set up and going and so on. Don't have to worry about it then. But I don't think it's going to come before. It's not going to come in the next couple of months, but I would say it's definitely going to come sometime early next year, I think. And I'm still putting all my betting chips on that fucking Adelaide Sony place that cost me $50 to read about as the
Yep. Yeah. Damn Adelaide advertising. Yeah. I mean, this makes it more competitive, I guess, and more something, especially when there's so many different streaming services and game subscription services at the moment. Like,
yep.
To bring it down to like $10 a month is not as well. Clearly, it's not as hard of a hit as $20 a month. And especially being the only place you can play those games on PC, that's a pretty big draw factor. Yes. So all them people whine about not being able to play Spider-Man potentially could be playing.
Potentially could be in sometime soon. I kind of like, so they're like, in the tweet when they announced this, they said we're changing our price to be competitive, which basically translates to we're changing our price so we're up to date with Game Pass and Stadia and whatever else is going to be coming along in the near future. Apple Arcade, if you want to count that. All these subscription services, of course. Now, the Sony PlayStation Now thing is, I don't think they'll ever do exactly what Game Pass does. I don't think they'll ever change it. I don't think
where they drop things day and date. Yeah,
that isn't going to happen. And Sony can enter the next generation and not have to do that because they're going in as the leaders, and they can be like, look, our games are some of the best that have released this generation. Our games are, massive hits. Everyone loves them. We're going to put them on here for periods. Like we're going to give you God of War for a couple months, and we're going to rotate it out, and we'll give you Spider-Man for a couple months, and then we'll rotate it out. We'll give you Horizon for, you know what I mean? Like they can kind of do that, and I think that's
pick and choose.
Yeah, I think that's a kind of good way to go about it, because I guess it means there's always stuff coming and going. You get different people subscribing at different times. Maybe they sign on for different things. Maybe when people sign on, they play some of God of War or whatever. They never played it before. Next second, they're buying the game, to finish it off because they liked it so much. Doing all sorts of different things. But also, they're really not going to go, you're not getting to PS5 and it's going to be like Horizon 2, whatever it is, isn't going to be like, and it's releasing day and date on PlayStation Now. That's not the kind of streaming service they're setting up, and I don't think they need to. I think the price point is very good though, and I think maybe really who the system is going to hit the most at is like the PC stuff, which they were talking about. People who don't have PlayStations and being able to pay $10 pay $10, play for God of War in a month. Actually, it's got a fucking free trial. Sign up now for free. You can literally play God of War for free, technically, at the moment. So
you can probably buy a second-hand controller.
Yeah.
Cash convert or something for barely anything.
Yeah. Now, for anyone,
especially if you're going to have it plugged in, you don't have to worry about battery.
For anyone who's like, oh, Dylan, can't I just like plug in an Xbox controller and kind of trick it into thinking it's PlayStation controller? You could.
I guess.
You could. But what do you do when it says press the touchpad to do this? You're fucked.
That's what
exactly. So you need a PlayStation controller. There's no way around that.
What if it tells you to hit that share button?
Yeah. What are you going to do then? You can't. Really screwed. So I think that coming down is really great news, and I don't think it's really great news. I don't think it's surprising news, because it was one of those things that I didn't see coming exactly this week, but I definitely would have kind of predicted to happen prior to the PS5 launch. And because that's what I'm saying. As far as I'm concerned, apart from The Last of Us and whatever else coming out next year, we're going to see lots of little things like this happening in the next 12 months in the lead up to the next console, as they kind of get their pieces of the chess table into position for how they want to launch like a lot of PS Network stuff into the next generation. And that includes, as IGN writes, Sony's crossplay function for PlayStation 4 has now completed its beta phase and its full feature for developers to make use of. Strangely, Sony has made no official announcement of crossplay being promoted to a full feature. The news instead comes from a Wired article, which states that crossplay is now available to any developer that wishes to implement it in their games. Call of Duty Modern Warfare seems likely to be the first new game to support this at launch, with it being set for release later this month. The beta phase of PS4 crossplay included games such as Fortnite and Rocket League, which help prove the system's capabilities. Hopefully, from now on, we'll see many more multi-platform games support crossplay. Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Wright, here he is, explained to Wired in the same article that Sony has to keep pushing PlayStation and its features in order to survive the next generation, saying, quote, "The track record of the incumbent platform winning the next time round is not a great one," he said. "So the major thrust of my executive energy is to avoid complacency." That is a good thing. That's a well-known fact, is that no single company or console, whatever you want to call it, has won the quote-unquote console wars or whatever 2 times in a row.
What about the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Super Nintendo?
I think that people only really started counting the console war like once.
Oh wow! Once PlayStation, Xbox are involved, that's when it really counts.
Well, no, you had the whole Sega, Nintendo.
I think Nintendo's been winning that handheld battle for a while.
Yeah. I think
generation after generation.
If you just want to look at like Sega versus Nintendo days, then sure, Nintendo would probably have a point there. I think from the last 20 years, I guess we're about to enter 2020. From that point, or 30 years, really back to early 90s, there hasn't been one. You know, like. Sony, Nintendo 64, Genesis, whatever. No. Going to PS2 days. PS2, 64 is considered the winner there. PlayStation considered the winner for PS2. Xbox is considered the winner for the following that. And then, of course, PS4 is considered the winner now. So if you're going by history, Xbox is supposed to win the next generation. And I think that is, to go back to the past story, I actually think that is subtly why people are getting really scared about all the Sony changes, because people are like, oh, it was written in the stars and so it is, you know, like PlayStation's bound to lose the PS5 generation and here they are making it all happen. But I don't think that's quite how it is. I think and hope, as much as I don't really buy into the console wars outside of, it's fun to see, like, there has to be some competition for good things to happen.
Competition breeds excellence.
Competition breeds excellence. I don't want fanboy wars. I'm happy to... I own all the consoles. I do a fucking PlayStation podcast. Obviously, my heart lies at a PlayStation and so on, but everyone that knows me listens to other podcasts and stuff. I wouldn't say I'm a PlayStation fanboy. I would say I'm a PlayStation fan. I don't want Xbox to lose. I want competition though, because it's fun to talk about. It's fun to watch. Yeah, I want slight jabs at E3 and these sorts of things. You know, like the Shuhei Adam Boys video. You know, like passing the game along and stuff. That's some good shit. I don't want these fucking nerds sitting on Twitter and yelling at each other about what thing's better for whatever reason, whatever else, being cunts. Yeah, that shit can get out here. But PS4 crossplay exiting beta. Great news. Obviously, I talked about how trying that out with the PC and the PlayStation, that sort of stuff, for Call of Duty the other week worked fantastic. Then,
home video game console developed by Sony Interactive Entertainment.
I don't know if you can hear that, but somehow my...
Thanks, Siri.
Thanks, Siri.
You're welcome.
Fuck me. Fucking hell. That was perfect. I don't know what I was saying.
Got the clip for this week.
Whatever. Crossplay. Thanks, Siri. Let's move on. The Last of Us 2's heartbeat system sounds completely nuts, but very impressive. Writes pushsquare.com. Naughty Dog's seemingly gone mental with all of its tech in The Last of Us Part 2. In an interview with Polygon, co-director Anthony Newman explains the game's heartbeat system, which sounds equally parts insane and impressive. The gist is that in The Last of Us Part 2, every character, that's Ellie, her allies, her enemies, the infected, everyone has a heartbeat. When the characters are performing strenuous acts like running, jumping, or engaging in combat, the heartbeat increases, and this leads to dynamic audio like heavier breathing and panting. Yeah, we told you that. It sounds crazy. I'm not sure if you noticed it, but as Ellie sprints around and then she settles, she kind of catches her breath, Yumin said in an interview. What's happening behind the scenes is that Ellie has a heart rate that is oscillating up and down. Oscillating. It goes up when you sprint, it goes up when you melee, it goes up when you take damage, and goes up in the presence of enemies, and that modulates the bucket of breathing sounds that she's able to use. But then again, the same system applies to enemies as well. If your foes are looking to quickly sneak around the back and flank you during a skirmish, you might hear them coming, especially if they're already knackered. So I'll tell you what, when I heard all this, I was like, my first thought was, remember when I said The Last of Us is too hard and don't be afraid to play it on easy? Standing by those comments. What's this make you think?
What they've got every single character in the game's got a heartbeat.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah. Everybody in the game's got a name.
Heartbeat.
Yep. Next, they're going to tell us everybody in the game has loved ones.
Yep.
They've got blood pulsing through their veins. So when it's realistic, when you hit a certain person in a certain place, the blood will react differently. It'll swirl out in a different way depending on where you hit them and how hard you hit them. And then they're going to tell us everybody's got a soul. That's Last of Us 2.
I think you've just described the game perfectly, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
They've been able to technically code souls into the games of The Last of Us 2. First.
Maybe. Sounds like it. This is one of those things where I read and I'm like, we'll see. You know, like this sounds very complicated along with the million other things the game's already trying to do, to the point that I'm like, it's a PS4 game still, really? Like, is the heartbeat system PS5 exclusive? Like, how's the...
Was there a stamina thing in Last of Us?
Yeah. But, you know, that's...
You got tired and
that's
stuff?
pretty common, though. To then translate that to enemy AI will be able to track you differently, or...
Will breathe heavier.
And you'll be able to track enemies differently and wear them out themselves. Like that's a bigger thing, because most games you have stamina, you as in the character you play, and these sort of things. They're kind of just extending that to make it harder. And other games have kind of done that, like heavy stealth games or whatever. But then to be like, your enemies will be able to be worn out if you make them run around a lot and these sorts of things. That's the part that I'm like, okay, that's a bit hardcore. Kind of a bit ham over there, Naughty Dog, but you know. Do what you need to do.
PSVR for the players.
All right, so now I'll talk about Concrete Genie's VR mode. It takes about an hour to play through. A bit less, probably 45 minutes. You do have like a story thing that you go through. It's basically just a whole bunch of tutorial shit. One of your little critter things in the game basically takes you through to this mystical plane, I guess. And then you get the book, and then you... In the other hand, using both PS Move controls, obviously. One is the paintbrush, one is the book. And then you kind of just, with the paintbrush, touch the different items to select what you want to paint in the book by selecting different menus and these sorts of things. And then you're not painting on a wall in this one. Well, you are for like the first 10 minutes, and then it takes you to this big, like, open 3D mountain type area, I guess. Big open plain, and then what you're doing is you're literally basically, see, at this stage it's not painting. It is like you're kind of casting spells nearly and bringing real objects to life in front of you. You know, so like if you select the campfire paint thing, you will then look on the ground anywhere in the area around you, and you can hold down and paint, in quotation marks, a campfire to life. Except for, as I'm saying, it's literally just a fire and some real campfire comes out of it, because that's the big 3D open area you're in. Basically you have the little genie thing being like, comes up, it'll ask for stuff. It's like, here, paint this. I guess it's sort of puzzle-ish, because most of the time it's kind of giving you clues, but the clues it gives are so easy to figure out what you need to paint and what you need to do to get to happen, that I didn't find it hard at all. And then once you beat that, you basically got free play where you can go in there and just have fun and do what you need to do. But it's one of those things that's really great to play, but it just doesn't have much, you know, you won't be coming back to it, sort of thing. But it's really fun. It's really pretty in VR. I think that it works out really well because of the game's art style, means that when it comes into VR, because it's not trying to look super realistic. You know, it lends itself to virtual reality quite well. And then there's lots of cool things you can do, like you paint a moon into the sky, it'll turn it to nighttime. You paint the sun into the sky, it'll turn it into daytime. You can literally paint stars into the sky in like whatever kind of way you want to. Hang different sorts of fruits. Get the apple. You can literally paint apples onto the edges of trees that you paint around. Paint an entire fucking apple forest if you want to around you. These sorts of things. So it's chill. It's relaxing. It's good fun. It's not something anyone's going to be diving into all the time. And also, it's not the reason to buy Concrete Genie. I'm not like, Concrete Genie's VR mode is so good that if you should really buy the game solely for this. No, it's like, get Concrete Genie because of everything I said at the start of the episode. It's a 10 out of 10 fantastic game. And then if you own PSVR as well, yes, dive in, have some fun with this because you've already got it and it is worth plugging in the headset to check out. It's not worth getting to do that though. And so then we got Iron Man VR at New York Comic Con, which was on this past weekend. Released a story trailer there, along with finally a release date for the game. So the game is coming out on the 28th of the 2nd, maybe the 29th, I don't know, but whatever. It's coming out 28th of the 2nd, 2020 next year. So that's good. Still, I'm like, oh, damn. For ages, I kept thinking, I'm like, well, look.
February's looking busier.
Fucking February.
Last of Us 2, then Iron Man VR, then Final Fantasy VII Remake. In like 3 weeks.
Yeah, I know it's like obviously Iron Man VR's
it's different. It's not going to hit
audience
the same
or whatever, but it's still like fuck. But it's hitting me. They're all hitting me. It's affecting me. One thing, by the way, I was really hoping, we have no confirmation on yes or no of this, but obviously PAX coming up this weekend. I'm like, what VR stuff are they going to have there? Will they have Iron Man? You know what I mean? Because last year they had several VR things on show and
Blood and Truth
and all these sorts of things. So I'm like, maybe they're going to have Iron Man. As far as I know, as of recording, no, they haven't said, but I don't know if they'll say by afterward. Well, as soon as we're done recording, they'll probably post, here's all the VR games that are going to be at PAX or something like that. I'll be like, cool, thank you. But yeah, what do you think of the trailer?
Only if they do it properly this year.
Yeah, well, that's its whole thing. I think we talked about that on the Plaid episode we did post PAX last year, didn't we? But yeah, it's like PlayStation, if you're listening to this, if anyone listening to this show is helping set up the PlayStation booth at PAX this year, you need to take into account that last year you had lots of problems with games that use Move controllers because all of the lights were affecting being able to track the fucking Move controllers and they weren't working. So you need to build them differently or put a fucking shade cloth over. I don't know. Just figure something out. Invite me over. I'll help out. Do what I need to do. Just let me jump into all the games quickly, try them all out. That'll be my conversation.
You just test it to make sure they all work before
that's all I need to do. Yeah, because last year I wanted to play Beat Saber. No, couldn't happen. Doesn't matter. I got that now. But yeah, Iron Man VR. So they put out a story trailer for it. Basically sets up the premise as Ghost is kind of getting together with some other villains they tease, I guess, is going to be in the game as well. Iron Man ones seems going to get a whole group of villains get together and they basically like want to get revenge on Tony Stark for the sins that he's apparently caused them, these sorts of things, with Ghost leading the charge. And you see some sorts of gameplay things happening. Obviously stuff we've kind of seen before with the plane sequence, except for here you see that Tony has to like try and save, like go up and like try and fix the plane as it's kind of coming down. You see him like going along and shooting things in Avengers Tower. You see him talking to Nick Fury in this one. I like the trailer. I'm pretty hyped to play this. I think the more and more I see of it, the more I'm like, yes, it's like that initial reveal where we were so scared, like, oh, is this just going to be like an arcadey type, fucking shit thing, or what is this? And now you watch a trailer for it and it's like, yes, this just feels like a full-on proper, like, VR fucking Iron Man game. This is great. Yeah. What do you think of it?
Yeah, it looks good. I mean, it looks like more Iron Man. Obviously, Ghost looks cool. It does look very much like the movie Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I think they would have got told to do that slightly just so like people have like association reference.
But yeah, I feel like they stayed pretty true to the version in the comics as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how you fight against her. It seemed like she was having like duplicates and shit as well. So
fire shit everywhere.
and then the free flying mode around that section. It's I don't know how it's going to work. It'll be
What I'm going to do
see
is
when you
lay
actually
my
get
chair
hands on.
backwards and I'm going to lay on it stomach down.
Flat. get one of those stomach things. We'll probably have PAX again.
Yeah, maybe those things that PAX
glide
last
around.
year. Yeah, the gliding things. That's what you need for this game. Get on that and be like, psh, psh, psh,
But then what if you want to be upright?
get off. You know? The game quickly switches to a section where you're flying. You pause the game. Hold on, just let me get out of my wardrobe, my fucking waveboard system, so I can fucking do this thing. Look, it looks really good. I'm really excited to play it. It also means because this is something to take into account. As much as we were saying before, like fucking Final Fantasy and Last of Us and all this shit, like what are we gonna do? But it also means that PSVR is going to have the stuff coming next year. It's going to have a strong start to the year like everything else, you know. Gaming in general, next year, having a strong start, it seems, between Last of Us and Final Fantasy, Cyberpunk, whatever, coming out early. And then you've got Iron Man, this big budget, massive VR game kind of kicking off in February as well. So we're good on all fronts, you know. You own PlayStation device, you're sorted. You got shit to do. You got shit to play. You got all sorts of things to do over here. The other thing that got a release date, this one's for 2019, so that's more exciting. I don't know. I mean, you're going to play it soon. So this comes from Perp Games' official blog post. Highwire Games and Perp Games are absolutely thrilled to reveal that Golem will emerge from shadows in both physical and digital from PSVR this fall. Golem's going to receive a physical release in European territory starting November 8th. North America territories are targeting release date close to that as possible. A digital version of the game will follow on November 12th. Built by a team of world-class industry veterans described by Polygon as super group of developers, Golem is one of the most eagerly anticipated games of the year. I would say that last part's a bit of hyperbole, but nonetheless. You may remember Golem as a game that was revealed about they've got the video here. 2015 was when it was revealed initially.
I feel like it was announced when they announced PSVR.
It was, yeah. And it looked really cool. And as I say down here a bit further, like the reason that everyone got hyped about it at the time is because here, featuring music from the award-winning composer Marty O'Donnell, the creator of the soundtrack for Halo and Destiny, innovative game design by Jamie Greismer, the game designer on Halo and Destiny, and developed by a team of instrumental in some of the best-loved games of all time, Golem has the world-class pedigree to be a flagship title for PSVR. So when it was announced, the teaser trailer was cool and whatever else, but the reason everyone's been, and myself included, the reason that Golem's kind of always been on like the, where's Golem? When's Golem coming?
Radar, yeah.
Where's it happening? Is simply because the pedigree behind the people working on it.
The people involved.
Yeah. So if you don't remember this at all, which look, I'll forgive you. It's been a while. They say here in Golem you take the role of Twine, an adventurous kid who has been left critically injured by a serious accident. While you can't leave your bed, you develop extraordinary abilities to create and control large stone golems and see the world through their eyes. You can use your golems to explore an enormous abandoned city, collecting treasure and artifacts while unraveling a deeper mystery and discovering the connection between the city and your family. Designed from the ground up for VR, the game also has innovative free movement control system and intense one-to-one melee combat that sees you feint, block, and counterattack your enemies. Golem has been in development for several years as Highwire Games has spent time refining and polishing the experience to the highest possible standard. So you play as a golem, you fight off golems or monsters or whatever they were from, I can't remember what I remember watching the trailer originally and they showed it off. And that was the other thing. When they revealed this and talks about the combat originally, you got to remember what this was like back then. They were like, you're going to have combat where you'll be able to sense and see what enemies are going to throw punches or, you know, swings with swords or whatever. And you got to like kind of react real time and dodge them. And of course we have more games these days that kind of do these sorts of systems and whatever else. But at the time it was like, yeah, like something that's not just some on rails or like sitting there. It's like, also at the time when they announced the game was going to have free movement, it was like, yeah, no games have free, because at the time no VR games had VR movement. Literally fucking zero. We do get an abundant, well not abundant, but a fair share of VR games free movement these days. So so I'm pretty keen for this coming out in November. Cool. I will strive to do my very best to get it and talk about it upon release, hopefully. I going to be trying nonetheless. Either way, I'm excited. I don't think anything else is coming out the early November that would get in the way off the top of my head. Like,
Probably something.
It's like, well, there's like crossover because I guess you got end of October, like Call of Duty, Outer Worlds, Medieval, and then, you know, like if you're still playing any of those, Death Strandings. Oh yeah, that's right, Death Stranding. Fuck.
Pokemon.
Well, that's a week later, isn't it?
Just Dance 2020.
Death Stranding is not 2020.
I said Just Dance 2020.
Oh, I thought it was like Death Stranding 2020. I'm like, are you writing a news story about it getting delayed? All right, so last bit of deals.
And Star Wars.
That's what, the 5th?
That's the week
Yeah,
after.
So Beat Saber, in case you don't know.
Yeah, November. You said November 8th. That's the same day Death Stranding.
Yeah.
So it might get banned.
Yeah, well, I can play both, you know, like maybe. I want to. We'll see how we go. Beat Saber got some new DLC, in case you don't know. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I do just want to note it in case you haven't seen the news, or anyone listening. So Beat Saber Panic at the Disco song pack is available for $10.45 Australian. Gives you The Greatest Show, Victorious, Emperor's New Clothes, and Ash's favorite song, High Hopes, will be available for you to play. Of course, you can buy all of these tracks separately like you could the last one, but you save money buying the whole thing as one. I have purchased it. I just haven't had the time to. I was really going to try this morning, but I ended up being like, you know what I should do? I should go into town and fucking buy all this stuff that, like, random shit that I want to get before the fucking plane trip. Yeah.
Thanks.
So I ended up doing that. So then my next 2 days I don't have to worry. But I'm excited. I think this is more in line. I'm hoping these are good and more exciting to play. I, of course, got the Imagine Dragons one, and I was like, I'm not the biggest Imagine Dragons fan as it is, but also their songs, like, and the reason I kind of not a massive Imagine Dragons fan is because their songs are so fucking repetitive that it just made the songs also just shit to play. It was like, thunder, hear the thunder, lightning, and thunder, 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 you know, like.
Yeah, it's the same pattern. So I guess they work for a rhythm game, but yeah. Those aren't. I'm surprised there's only 4. How many were in the Imagine Dragons pack? I feel like it was more than that.
Like 6 or something. 6 to 8. It was a couple more though. Yeah.
And then for all the songs to be like recent-ish, I guess that makes a certain degree of sense. You want to get the younger demographic in who are probably more familiar with the more recent Panic at the Disco stuff, but it would have been cool to see some the older material included.
I guess it's like
they're all from like the last 1 or 2 albums.
For all we know, this was a very recent deal, and it was just like, hey, Beat Saber Panic.
It was a tie into their recent world tour.
Okay.
Apparently, they based the design on their world tour.
Which maybe they didn't. Maybe
sense.
they didn't reach out to the Beat Saber team until late and be like, hey, we would like to team up and make this happen, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, maybe they said you could use all these songs, but they were like, look, if you want it out by this date to kind of help with that, we ain't going to have the time to, you know, to make all of these songs. Because, believe it or not, from what I understand, it takes quite an amount of work to map all these fucking notes because they have to do it like 10 times. They have to do it 10 times over for all the difficulties and then also for PSVR, Oculus, and all the, you know, the amount of times they have to go over these songs and make sure they work everywhere fine is kind of ridiculous. Expert Plus, they added a fucking difficulty, you know, so they got all sorts of stuff. Yeah, they're making shit harder for themselves. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to playing that though. Hey everybody, welcome to your ETC for episode 131. Want to quickly go over Concrete Genie, obviously. Love the game, as I talked about earlier in the show, but also it's a freaking home swing because not only is it an amazing game to play and one of my favorite games of the year, it's also a really, really, really easy platinum. It took me around 10 hours, but of course I was playing this without any guides or helpful things. So when it got down to the end of the game and I'm looking for the final collectible I need, I'm pretty sure I walked past it 10 times over, and it took me several hours to find the final collectible I need, and I was being a bit silly. So if you're playing it and someone puts together a guide, which I would love to do guides, to be honest, I would love to do trophy guides to help out here. Just don't have the time, obviously, to fit those in, so I'm sorry I can't help you out fully, but I'm sure someone will do it. But other than the collectible guide, there are a couple miscellaneous things like certain locations you will do stuff to interact with your genies, a whole bunch of random stuff and interactions you could do with your genies by, for example, like if you paint, there's a trophy for like scaring one of your genies with thunder. So when you unlock the thunder paint thing, you go up to one of your genies and you kind of just like paint thunder above them, and if they're like sitting there kind of out of it or whatever, it'll please them, make them be scared, or please them. Either way, you'll get the trophy. So there's a whole heap of stuff like that. And then basically you got to find all the pages. Not very hard, apart from that one that took me ages for whatever reason. But other than that, it's a very straightforward, very easy platinum that I believe if you got a guide and someone puts together a guide for, you'll be able to do it very fast if you're not mucking around within the game. So very, very easy platinum. 2 lists I want to go over that have popped this week. So the first one is Ghostbusters, the video game remastered, which is out this week. And the trophy list is the same as the PS3 one if you played the PS3 game back in the day, which I did. But this list doesn't have any of the multiplayer trophies because, of course, they've taken the multiplayer out of the game. Although apparently they're releasing it as an update, free or separate down the line. Okay. But since it doesn't contain any of the multiplayer trophies, that does mean that this platinum is now a lot more obtainable. The original trophy list for the Ghostbusters game had an obtuse, ridiculous amount of time needed to put into a multiplayer mode that was tacked on to get the platinum. So a lot of people didn't actually end up grabbing the platinum for that game. The hardest trophy now is probably going to be doing the less than $100,000 worth of damage while playing the game, which basically means that you need to make sure you're not just like blowing shit up all around you left, right, and center. As long as you're doing that, you'll be able to get the trophy. There's a whole bunch of collectibles. Obviously, there's heaps of guides available for that. And then the last list I want to talk about is the Yooka-Laylee and the possible Lair, which is out this week. Being from what I've seen, general Twitter reaction review stuff says that the game's quite good, which is really fantastic. In the game, you play levels, you get bees. The bees will help you. The bees will help you challenge the impossible lair, which is the level you've got to beat the game. You can challenge it from the start, but it's really, really, really hard apparently. And by getting the bees, they basically are able to take damage for you because there's no checkpoints in the level. So basically 25 of the trophies out of the entire list are simply for getting the bees, which you'll probably want to do anyway because it's what you're going to need to do to make the impossible lair a beatable level. And then of course being able to beat the impossible lair itself is a trophy, and even with all the bees, from what I can gather, it's still quite a challenge. So I believe the hardest trophy may just be being oh my goodness, may be beating the game. But other than that, 25 trophies just for going around and kind of just playing the game and collecting bees, pretty good trophy list, I'd say. So that's your ATC for episode 131. Obviously there won't be one next week as well, just so you know, by the way. If medieval trophies pop, I'll talk about them the week after. But I'm excited to find out what medieval trophies are coming. And that'll be it for this week's episode of Platinum Explosion. You can follow me to PAX and Ash to PAX. We're going to be over there, explosionnetwork.com/PAX, where you find all our PAX coverage, of course. And if you want to go watch Ash live, off the top of my head, I should write Wombat Theatre, 6:30
p.m. Wombat Theatre.
Saturday night.
The AGPN party mode panel. We'll be playing some games against each other with other people from the Australian Podcast Network, people that you've seen here before as well. I think Ryan from the Cop Holsterist that you mentioned before and Paul James are on the panel as well. So come watch me beat them.
Good plug. That very good. So PAX is happening. Follow me on Twitter on Vivaldil, VIVALADIL. I'm sure I'll be posting PAX stuff as well. You follow Ash on Twitter at AshHobby, ASHALEY, I'm sure he'll be posting PAX stuff as well. Probably when he goes on the panel, I guess. You can follow the show on Twitter at Podcast, and you can help out the show by giving us a review either on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. Alternatively, you can just tweet at any of the above accounts and be like, yeah, thanks, love you very much. That's great, love you. And I'm like, cool, thanks. You can join our Discord, chat to us about games, ask for trophy tips, send in questions, topics for the show, explosionnetwork.com/Discord. And this is, of course, a product of the Explosion Network, of which you can find many more shows, articles, news, reviews, including Concrete Genie review, Close to the Summer preview, PAX coverage, all that stuff that we've been talking about. It's all over there as well. And then I'm also putting up some news posts that'll be like, here's all the games that PlayStation and Ubisoft or whatever are bringing to PAX. And I say, put a little asterisk and say, that I know of. In other words, my PlayStation news article that I was working on before we started recording is currently 2 games strong. So we'll see how that goes. And until next week's episode, which will be pre-recorded, by the way, I'll just put that out there now. I'm probably not going to mention it in the episode because I might just, there's no need to. But next week's episode will be pre-recorded, so we won't be talking about PAX stuff next week because it's going to be coming out right as I'm getting home late Monday night. When do you get home?
Yeah. I get home.
We're both getting home late Monday night, so we're not going to have time to record a fucking episode prior to going up at Tuesday 6 a.m. next week. So that episode will be recorded, so you can get our PAX PlayStation thoughts the following week, which will be episode 100.
Oh, you could just go.
32. Oh, you can just go watch all the videos and look on Twitter or whatever else. But
listen to Arcade Couch.
Arcade Couch will, but they'll be old games. If you want our strict PlayStation breakdown of PAX, it'll be episode 132 is when that's going to happen.
Whatever.
That's it. All right. Until next week. Don't forget to plat and all the trophies and the bling blings. Bye.
Thanks, Siri.
Thanks, Siri. Oh.
Oh, no talk. Not talking now.
Not when I wasn't fucking talking to you, bitch.
Only wants to talk about Sony Interactive and